Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Kitchen Table Doctor Repair. And I am really excited tonight to be starting a new project. If you mention the name Yamaha, what comes to mind? Well, the first thing that usually pops to people's mind is very high quality electronic products, and it certainly comes to my mind. And of all the stereo receivers on the market, Yamaha made some of the absolute best top of the line was, and they were expensive. I have in front of me here a behemoth. I have a Yamaha, a CR620. And this unit was produced in 1977 to 1979. And it's 40 watts per channel. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the great thing about Yamaha, and the reason that this makes it so great, so wonderful, and such a good project to try to get restored, is Yamaha had what they called natural sound. They had very neutral sort of electronics, and it would produce very clear tone, very true to life reproduction of sound. It's so good, this Yamaha CR620. It's still considered so fine and so top of the line in a digital world. This is an analog receiver that people still use it today in some of their main listening, not for real high volume, high power. 40 watts per channel is not going to blow anybody away, but for sound fidelity and amazing clarity and reproduction and clean filtering, little tiny, if any noise at all, some of the lowest distortion that you'll ever find. The Yamaha, and especially this medium to top of the line, the CR620, was a beaut. And in the aftermarket, although these retailed for about $325 when they were new, even on the aftermarket today, some 30, 40 years later, these still command prices of $150 to $220. Some are even higher, depending on condition. In a world today of black metal, well, not even metal, but plastic cases, and lightweight little chooches that have no guts to them at all, you lift this baby up, you're talking about 30 pounds for this receiver. It's got a real wood case on it. Yes, it's veneered, but it's a solid wood, and it's got a beautiful walnut veneering job on it. You can see the grills for ventilation, because even at 40 watts per channel in the late 70s, early 80s, this baby kicked out a lot of heat. Let's talk about where it came from. You know, I have a garage, and I had a garage with about 100 stereo receivers, and I've worked it down to about 70 now. I've rebuilt, I've moved on, I've sold some 30 of the 70, and now I'm getting down to some of the really cherry units that I really wanted to take the time to restore and have for my own personal collection. You know, the boss comes over, he screams, "Rosie, you just got old radios. That's all they are. It's just radios." He's not a high fidelity kind of guy. He's a digital guy, and you know, I'm still stuck in an analog world. But at 40 watts per channel, and the beauty, and you can see the very clean type of design on here, which I really like. There's not a lot of idiot lights and stuff going on. There's a signal meter, there's FM tuning meter, and then there's the FM AM tuner there. And it's got some filtering and stuff, but other than that, it doesn't have a lot of idiot lights going up and down. I mean, I have stereos out there that have all the idiot lights. They look like something out of a set of Lost in Space or something. It would fit into the background. What I want to do is get this unit restored. It's got loose. It looks like it's been, you know, all the knobs are loose on it. The turning spindles, you know, it's like it's been through the wars, and it needs a good cleanup. I went to plug it in, and as you see over here, we got it plugged into the wall there, and I go to flip the power on, and as usual, it's dead as doornail, and I get nothing out of it. So our job, should you choose to be along for this episode, is to see if we can figure out, number one, why this unit is not functioning at the current time. Two, when we figure out what's wrong, can we fix it? Can we find the parts to get her going again? It could range anything from simple fuses, which about 40% of fixes tend to be, because people don't know, oh, I didn't know there were internal fuses on a lot of these stereos, and you see them inside and they're blown because, you know, little Johnny cranked it up to 10 and blew out the speakers and stuff and blew out the amp protective fuses. But sometimes that's not the case, and sometimes it requires more intensive investigation. We're not going to know until we pop the top on this and take a look. So let's do that now and see what we're dealing with inside. I've now removed the chassis from the outside wooden case, and it's nice the way it just slides in. It's so well made. 6 screws on the bottom. Just pull it out, and it's great. Well, we got a little bit of bad news here. If you look inside here, this thing is just well, it's, for lack of a better, it's just a filthy mess in here. There's so much dust that's accumulated inside of this unit. It's going to be hard until we get this thing cleaned up. It's going to be really hard to try to diagnose and see what the problems are. But a few of the more salient features that I can point inside. I don't see if I have. You can see this huge heat sink on the side uses these big power audio amplifier transistors here on the side, which is kind of unusual. It really uses the side of the chassis as a heat sink, or something that absorbs the heat and then dissipates the heat over a wide surface so it doesn't overheat. Hopefully one of these for each channel, these haven't gone bad, because remember, on a stereo receiver, you have an A channel and a B channel, and some of them had 4 channels for quadraphonic sound. But this is an AB unit. We're going to hope that these are good, and you can see some of the thermal grease that they use when they mount these on. That thermal grease helps ensure a closer contact. But right off the bat, I can tell you it's going to need a good cleaning. You can see inside too, we've got an A channel fuse down here. We got a B channel fuse here, and I can't really tell yet what the state of those fuses is. And we also have, I don't know if you can see it down there, you can see a power fuse right down. It's kind of difficult to see. Yeah, you can see it right down there. You can see the power fuse there. So I know we have 3 fuses. This is the tuning capacitor here. It doesn't look like a real complicated one, but Yamahas are really great at capturing signals, and we want to make very sure that we clean this up properly. A lot of people make the mistake on these tuning capacitors. They take and squirt oil in there, and you can see that tuning capacitor moves up and down as I turn the tuning dial there. And a lot of people make the mistake of shooting oil in there and everything, and then the thing never tunes in channels right. Again, you have to always use compressed air to clean these up, and a really fine, dry brush to get all the accumulated grit out. We have the 2 big filter capacitors here. It takes that AC power and then converting, it has some rectifiers here that convert that power to DC power. But it also cleans it up and makes sure it's a very smooth path of electrons coming in there, direct current electricity coming in there, so you don't get any spikes that cause interference with the amplification. So it's very important to have really good filter capacitors, and these look like they're in good shape. And I can tell you, these look like they're Nippon chemicals, so they're pretty good 45 volt, yeah, good size, 500 microfarad. These are really, really big and high-end units, and you have good-looking capacitors elsewhere here too. electrolytic capacitors because they're negative and positive. They have a polarity when you put these down on the board. And it's always good to do an initial inspection on the top of these capacitors to make sure that we don't have any that are bulgy or gone bad, because if they're bulgy and gone bad, they've dried out and they've lost their ability to charge and release, because all a capacitor is an electronic device that stores a charge temporarily like a battery and then releases it when it gets to a certain point, releases that pulse of energy, and it does that cycling through hundreds and hundreds of times over the course of a minute. So we're going to do a visual inspection now. I'm going to take a look. You can see they use the tuning rods back then, or the turning rods that would be connected to the back. You can see that old technology. Instead of having them mounted on the front up here, they had them coming all the way back there. So that's really old school, when they didn't really care how much it cost to get that in a space of the board where it wouldn't interfere with anything. It's a pretty clean looking unit. You can also see that this has a protective relay. And what this does is it protects the unit. If this unit fires on and you turn the power on, and that the circuit sense that there's some problem with maybe a short or something like that, this relay will trip and it'll keep the unit from powering up. It won't allow any amplification at all, and it renders the unit useless until it's inspected and you find out why this relay is being triggered. A lot of times when you turn on these stereos from the 70s and 80s, you'll hear a click after about 2 or 3 seconds. That's the protective relay letting the power work through the unit. So first thing we got to do, probably not going to do this today, we're going to set this aside because it's late in the evening, and tomorrow we're going to take it out back and we're going to get the compressed air out and we're going to clean it up real good. And I can already see some problems with some potential burns down here on some of these, looks like some of these diodes here. So some of these things may have to be replaced. But we will know tomorrow when I start digging in. And if we have parts that are going to be replaced, we're going to have to get on the bottom of the board here and do some circuit level soldering and repair work. So we want to be really, really careful, because I really want this unit in working condition, because I want to put it into my own collection. So that'll do it for tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow when we'll spend some time trying to restore the Yamaha CR620, the flagship receiver of Yamaha Corporation in the late 1970s. Okay, I've got the chassis of the Yamaha CR620 outside. And one of the best ways to clean electronics is you've got to avoid using anything that could leave a residue. Resist using oils, anything like that. What you want to do is you want to go to a Radio Shack or a sporting goods store, and you want to get a can of dust remover spray. It's specifically designed to remove dust from electronic products. What you also want to have is a really soft bristle paintbrush. And what I'm going to do is clean off the transformer and try to get some of the surface dirt off the unit. It's impossible to see what kind of shape the components are in unless we can get a view and see if any of them have any marks of burn. We can't go through and test 150 resistors, 50 transistors, 80 capacitors. It's just impossible to do that diode. So what we got to do is we've got to try to look at things, fuses and everything else, to see if we can find any sense of what went wrong. But as I say, before we do that, we've got to clean up the unit and get the dust off of it. Dust also acts like a thermal blanket, and it can keep your unit way too hot a lot of times, so it's very good to clean it off. Now that I've got some of the heavy concentrations of dust off, and you can wear a dust mask when you do this if you want to go in. Don't forget to get all the little nooks and crannies so you can see everything really well. A little more area in here is very critical around the power board because this thing does not have power at the current time for whatever reason. And it's nice to see Yamaha always uses top of the line components here. Get that really clean. Give it one last spray here. And we're all set. So I'm going to take the camera off the tripod and I'll give you a close-up look now of how clean the unit is after a little spray down and a dust down. Not using any harmful sprays or anything, but just giving a good wipe down. So let me switch it off the tripod here. Okay, as you can see from yesterday, the difference is night and day in terms of cleaning this unit up. We didn't have to use anything. You can come in and you can find a few more spots to clean up. You can get in there with your soft brush. You can be as perfection as you want to be. I just want enough to see the components and I spray that out good. Paying particular attention to the tuning capacitor to make sure you get all the dust out of there, and that spray will not harm anything at all. And I think you would agree that is so much cleaner. So we can now take it inside and start doing the examination.